I read this story, short story in my English class, by Raymond Carver, The Lie. And in it, it was a story of emasculation. It was this guy who, his wife admits that she has had an affair with another man, but she's in this completely dominant position, and he has no power. He's given away all of his power. And he doesn't react negatively at all. She holds all the power in the relationship with him, and you know, he lights a cigarette for her, he crawls on his knees naked to her, and whatever. That's not a very good description of the story, but that's fine. I mean, that me giving a good description of the story is not integral to me talking about what I want to talk about. It was a story of emasculation. It was a story of an incredible power imbalance between this man and this woman. And you know, that happens fairly frequently in relationships, but I think much more often it's the man who's in a position of power. And of course we're getting better as a society in that way, but anyway, so, but you know, it is unusual for it to be the man who's in the low power position. But one thing that really struck me was it brought back this feeling of inadequacy for me. Because what my instructor said is, you know, here's a guy who is not taking anything. We did kind of an interpretation of the story, and he said, you know, this guy in the story is not taking anything, and he's just giving, and the only thing he's receiving from her is the little crumbs she gives to him. And she's, you know, taking everything from him, I guess. And he said, you know, a relationship isn't going to work unless both people take. If you just give, it's not going to work. And that struck me. And I don't, you know, I mean, he's not, you know, I mean, he's not like a wise person guru psychologist or anything. He's just an English instructor, but you know, I do think he does have some wisdom, and I do respect him. So him saying that made me question if that might be true, because I never took from Rahela. I did nothing but give. She took a lot from me. Her whole point of being in a relationship with me was to satisfy her needs. She wanted to feel whatever. She thought that I could give her something, and you know, very consciously and continuously throughout the whole relationship, it was always her evaluating how much her need was being satisfied by being with me. And you know, there are a lot of similarities between the couple represented in that story and my relationship with Rahela. You know, I gave Rahela a tremendous amount of power. Now, and I think I was emasculated to some degree. I certainly was never dominant over her. I don't know if that's absolutely true, but you know, I mean, I'd like to think there's something very different about it, because it's not like I was powerless. I was just giving power to her, and I was always conscious of that, right? I mean, because Rahela was less intelligent than me, although, I mean, I never really said that explicitly, and you know, I never wanted to, you know, because, I mean, that's perhaps rude to say, but I mean, it's obvious. It was obvious, and you know, she was significantly less intelligent. She was significantly less mature. She wasn't very capable in comparison to me of just anything. And so, you know, the power that I gave her was one of me kind of being charitable, right? It was one of me saying, you know, I feel an obligation to treat this person as a human being, and part of what that means for me is that I'm going to let them be empowered, and I'm gonna be a good steward of this human being. I'm gonna allow them to be empowered and feel empowered and grow. Which, you know, upon reflection, I realized is totally not what she needed. What she really needed probably was somebody to give her direction in her life, which is a matter of just kind of morality I refuse to do. Because I wanted to give her free will and honor the integrity of her being and whatever. Being with Rahela really brought in me a sense of inadequacy, right? That she never really understood me. She was never very interested in me, or at least, you know, I think she was interested in me, but never invited me to share myself with her. She only kind of mimicked what she could see on the outside. I don't know. I was actually kind of impressed at my last 2 vlog entries when I looked at them, when I reviewed them, and I thought I'd done a fairly good job in both of them of expressing myself well and being in the moment and expressing what mattered to me. And I wonder if I'm doing that right now, because I'm actually kind of saying stuff I've been thinking about for a couple days, so it's not as fresh, it isn't as energetic. Anyway, I'll just finish up this thought about Rahela and then try to find something a little juicier, maybe. Yeah. So, I just wonder if there's something false about me saying that it was different, that it wasn't me being emasculated because I was giving her the power, and I could theoretically have stopped giving her that power at any time, but it was just a moral issue for me. So, I do think that there is a qualitative difference between me and the emasculated man in that story, but practically there might not have been. You know, I mean, one difference between him and I is that the word, you know, I imagine him being powerless in all areas of his life. You know, the story only explored one scene between this man and the woman, and then it ended, but you know, the impression I got is that he is kind of a man who is not capable of being powerful at all, at any place in the world, and I am. You know, I made myself powerless with Rahela, or, you know, I gave up my power with Rahela, but, you know, I certainly have a spine, and I certainly am courageous when the situation calls for it, when I feel it's important to do so, and it's kind of an ethical, moral thing to take a stand about something, and I have done that. No, I mean, that's... I almost kind of seemed like I was afraid. It almost sounded like I was trying to convince you, whoever you are. But anyway.